And welcome to Commodity Champions, your weekly dose of what's brewing in the commodity space. I'm Anisha Gupta and our focus today is the new digital commodity that is in vogue, the Bitcoins. Everyone's talking about the rise of Bitcoins from just $14 a unit in 2012 to about $1,300 in 2017. We have with us Charles Hayter, founder of CryptoCompare.com from London. Satvik Vishwanath is CEO and co-founder Unocoin, and he joins us from Bangalore. We also are joined by Saket Modi, who is CEO LucidDS. But before we start a discussion on that, let's quickly recap the week that was for the commodity space. Starting with the crude oil, and the oversupply concerns is something that has taken the crude oil prices below $50 per barrel, and this is the new low since November 2016. The market participants have unwound the long positions that has been weighing onto the prices, and it also has to do with the U.S. stockpiles at record highs, the U.S. drilling that has picked up in the shale regions, and also a surge in U.S. output at imports as well. Saudi Arabia oil minister saying that OPEC may not extend output cuts beyond June is yet another thing that has weighed onto this sector. The losing cluster is the gold prices, which have declined for an 8th straight day. Expectation of a Fed rate hike in the next week has weighed onto this market as well, and we have seen it break below the psychological support of $1,200 per ounce. The metal space have continued to decline this week as well as investors liquidate long positions. There are demand concerns on weaker data from China, increase on LME inventories, and that has taken the copper and the zinc prices to the lowest in last 2 months. In the agro space, it was all about the sugar prices, which were the best gainer in 2016. But in this month, you have the prices trading at a 3-month lows on the back of price decline in the global markets, and India unlikely to import as output improves is yet another reason for the decline in sugar prices. Before we start the discussion on Bitcoins, let's first know a little about that cryptocurrency. It's a form of decentralized digital currency. It was launched first in 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto. It is not printed, remember, but mined on a computer and can be bought or can be used to buy things electronically. Well, how to mine your own Bitcoin? For that, it is produced by solving mathematical problems. For each problem solved, 1 block of Bitcoin is processed, and as of now, from what we understand, only 21 million Bitcoins can ever be created by mining. Well, that was a quick introduction onto Bitcoins, but let's now go across to our guests, and let's speak to Charles first of all. Charles, hi, good to have you. The kind of volatile moves and the kind of run-up that we have seen in the value of Bitcoin in this month itself, what would you give that to, and would you say that the current valuation really is sustainable?
Well, at the moment the price is torn between two scenarios. The first one is basically based on the ETF approval by the SEC, which is expected today or tomorrow or potentially on Monday. And if the SEC approves this Bitcoin ETF, you have the potential for a price rise, and if it doesn't approve it, you have the potential for a price decline. So really, volatility and volume are on the cards at the moment, and that's what the Bitcoin price is stable, waiting for to happen, the catalyst.
Charles, in both the scenarios, if we do get that go ahead from SEC, where do you see the prices moving on both the scenarios?
Well, at the moment, the volatility is looking at 30% upside on the options and downside as well. So people are expecting the price to move a lot. As far as how high it can go, that's anyone's guess. You're looking at people saying $5,000 on the top side. On the low side, again, there could be a lot of panic in the market. But we expect if there is disapproval, there are a lot of other potential ETFs in the pipeline that you could see coming to the fore in the next few days. So panic on decline, but potentially a rally afterwards too.
Charles, let's talk about country-specific as well. And India, while of course in Bitcoin is legal here, but RBI, that is the central banker, continues to warn the citizens against the risks that are there to it. And that perhaps is the scenario in other countries as well, from Russia to Brazil. It's only Australia and US in some sense which have accepted the Bitcoins more than the other countries have.
And the UK too. I mean, and a fair amount in Europe as well. I mean, regulation is a softly approach as countries try to figure out how this technology can be improved. The UK, with the Bank of England and with Imperial College universities too, they are looking into Bitcoin and its underlying core technologies and how it can be used to further make money, for example, digital, which has various advantages from a tax point of view, but also has some disadvantages too from a privacy angle. Across the board, there are varying states of regulation across the world. The US and the UK and Australia too are very pro seeing how it develops, nurturing it, and seeing how it can be used in the future. And then you have some very harsh reactions on some sides of the coin. And I would say that a more nurturing effect has longer-term benefits as we go forward.
All right. Charles, what is your sense? Is it a good time to start investing in Bitcoins, or would you want to rather wait out the SEC decision right now?
Well, a couple of funds in the space, they have reduced their holdings to say we don't want to be a part of this bet as the ETF comes for approval. They just want to sit on the sidelines and wait this one out. What we're doing is we're hedging our position just to make sure that downside risk is hedged, but we see potential upside. Probability of approval, people have played out sort of 10 to 50%. It's anyone's guess out there whether the SEC will push through the ETF. I hope so. I think it'll be a good thing for the space, as it'll allow a piercing of the veil for what's been a wild west of finance to come into the mainstream of finance. So it'll allow digital currencies to get into the mainstream, as well as a merging of the two spaces, which could have benefits in the long run. So
we will watch out for that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us and answering all our questions. Well, that really is the view from John right now, that it really is anybody's guess on what the SEC will do. But if the decision is positive, you will have the first ETF on Bitcoins, and that would really take the prices or the value of it surging on the higher side. Let's also get into the discussion. Saurabh Agarwal, who is CEO and founder of ZepPay. Saurabh, hi, good to have you. What has been your sense? How do you look at the Bitcoin acceptance in India as we are today?
So if you look at Bitcoins, it has really evolved from the time in 2011 when Bitcoin was priced at about $1. It has come to $1,200 now. In India, we have seen tremendous changes. When we started the exchange in 2013, we are doing about, in 2015 when we started the exchange, we were doing about 10 lakh rupees of trade a month, which has touched to about 200 crores a month now. So there's been a tremendous positive movement in Bitcoin space.
The kind of volatility that we have seen on the value itself, do you think that is one of the factors that really deters people who really aren't aware or very familiar with the whole thing?
So if you look at Bitcoins, in 2011 it was worth about $1, which is currently at $1,200. So at those times the market cap was about $1 billion, and in any small sensitive news would trigger the Bitcoin price movements up or down to a big level. But now on the volatility index, Bitcoin has come down from 15 to 2, which is quite similar to the volatility between dollar crude or dollar euro. So I think volatility has reduced a lot, and it has become quite stable compared to earlier years.
Saurabh, also, in the recent days with the kind of run-up that we have seen in Bitcoin, it has been put across on how gold hasn't given you that kind of a value. The kind of returns that we have seen come from Bitcoin have been much higher as compared to many other asset classes. Would you say Bitcoin has reached an arena where it can actually be, can be seen vis-a-vis many other asset classes, or it still is a very niche category?
So you are right. Bitcoin, if somebody had bought Bitcoin worth 5,000 rupees in 2011, it would be worth 4.5 crore rupees today. So no other asset class has given that kind of return ever. Bitcoin has evolved, and it has reached a space. I mean, if you're only talking about ETF coming in US, if that happens, that will actually show the maturity of the asset. And in India, we believe that there is still some more time before matured and seasoned investors actually start investing in Bitcoins. But from here onwards, we are still seeing a lot of positive moments in Bitcoin and the price moving north.
So, sir, what would your advice be? I mean, we have been hearing most of the central banks, most of the countries telling us on how you need to be cautious. There have been enough and more warnings. It is not accepted by many regulators, and there is no redressal mechanism as well when it comes to Bitcoins. How would you look at that, and how longer before we get all of that into the system?
So you are right. In 2013 December, when the prices moved from $100 to $1,200, governments panicked worldwide, and Indian RBI also issued a press note stating that this is a highly volatile currency and people should not be investing in this currency because it is not backed by any government bodies, and there are chances they may lose their investments. The wallets and exchanges are not regulated. In February 2017, they again issued a press note warning the regular people, and they still stand by it. But if you look at regulations in developed countries, for example US, UK, Europe, Japan, things are different. Government have recognized it either as a financial instrument, as a currency, or as a commodity. And it's time in India also we see some kind of regulations coming in. Till the time that doesn't happen, we at Zeppe and few other companies are following strong self-KYCs and AML policies. So that is making sure that we are trying to avoid the bad players out of the system.
All right, Saurabh, we'll let you go at that. Thank you so much for joining us and spending your time with us. So that really is the view coming in from Zeppe. The returns have been amazing as compared to many other asset classes and for many years as well. But from here on as well, the Indian government or the regulator as well needs to start stepping in before we see the next surge of growth coming in here. But with that, we'll take a very quick break. But on the other side, we will be joined by Vishwanath, who is CEO and co-founder Unocoin, and we will also have Satwik Modi joining us. Welcome back. You're watching Commodity Champions, and we continue to our discussion on the Bitcoin boom that we have seen in the recent many months and many years as well. Satwik Vishwanathan, CEO and co-founder Unocoin, now joins us to the discussion. Satwik, hi, good to have you. What really has been your sense, the kind of run-up that we have seen? Do you see it sustaining, or are you expecting that the prices can actually come down? It really has been $100 on some days in the past few minutes.
The price of Bitcoin has gone up by about, I would say, 50% since 2 months, and about at least 15% in last 10 days. So the price used to be in India about 75 to 80,000, and it actually reached 1 lakh rupees on last Saturday, which is like 3 days ago. So the price again, it's quite depending upon the demand and supply on the international exchanges. And there is also quite a lot of news around ETF that is about to come in, and the speculation whether it gets approved or not in US. And because of that, we are seeing more people getting in and more people getting out, and because the demand and supply is not really getting equal, the prices are really volatile in nature. And since again 2 days, the prices dropped by another 5%.
Well, yes, it has been a very, very volatile last 1 week and 1 fortnight as well. But let's go across to Saket Modi as well. Saket, what has been your sense? I mean, you've heard all our guests, and it, of course, is a very strong place to be in, the kind of move that we have seen come in for this one. But the security part of it and the regulatory is something that's a big question mark.
So firstly, absolutely, you're right. First of all, I personally am a thorough believer of the underlying technology which is there on Bitcoins, which you call as blockchain. There's this thing which I personally believe in, that what internet did to the media is something that the blockchain technology would be doing to the entire the financial sector in the near future. However, on the other side, when you talk about Bitcoins, there have been challenges both from the security side of the Bitcoins also, and the integrity of the legitimate measures being used to mine Bitcoins. And not just that, even the algorithm which is used to go ahead and contain the 21 million Bitcoins that can be mined is under challenge also. So, considering all of that, I personally feel that the future is blockchain without any doubts, not just in terms of the currency exchange which is there. If you integrate blockchain with things like Aadhaar card or other things in India, I think the potential is massive. But on the other side, when you talk about Bitcoins in specific, I've seen a lot of interest which has been rising exponentially in the near past. But on the other side, I am not too sure about the 100% future of this as a currency.
All right, so blockchain is the place to look at. But Satvik, coming back to you, and I mean, the trade in India isn't so much. It perhaps is more of an investment that India looks at when it comes to cryptocurrencies. What's your sense?
I would say in India, the trade volume is very, very less. So it is maybe less than 1% of China and less than 1% of US. So I wouldn't really say any activities that are occurring within India itself is significantly impacting the of Bitcoin. But the demand as such within India as well, we have seen a slight increase since the last couple of months. But again, its contribution to the globally the price of Bitcoin, I doubt it.
You know, Satvik, as I was talking to Saket and other guests as well, do you think the reason for that kind of a lower volume is lower awareness, or is it the security issues or the warnings that we're hearing from RBI?
RBI said that they have taken the waiting and watching policy in 2013, and till now the particular stance have not really changed. And the warning that they gave out on February 1st is again reiterating what exactly was said in December 2013. So I'm not too sure if it is again impacting on one side of it. And on the other side, if you see, not only in India, in most of the rest of the world, it is presently unregulated in nature. So it is still in the technology and adoption phase, and regulation will usually come quite later. But there has been quite a couple of developed countries which actually have proposed some regulations, but most of the rest of the world actually do not have one as of now.
All right. Saket, let me come to you with this question. You know, there are many creators when you talk about blockchain. I mean, there are various types of it also. Bitcoin is not the only one. There's Ethereum, there's Ripple, and there are many new other names as well. So do you see the kind of creators that we are getting into the space do understand the market and do see the market growing in that sense?
So, you know, when you talk about the market growing, the only thing I would, you know, clearly demarcate, remember the value of a particular commodity that you're exchanging is a function of the acceptability of that particular commodity. I mean, this is, see, the currencies are traded, gold is traded, but the goal of currency is not to be traded, it is to be used by everybody. And the more popular a currency becomes, the more value it goes up, and of course it's okay to trade that also. Out here, when we are talking only about trading of bitcoins and not about the applicability of bitcoins, think of a scenario, instead of Paytm, if you had bitcoins and that many bitcoin stations in India, I mean, India would be a buzzing place when you talk about transactions. And again, these are free of cost, real-time pull and push transactions, something similar to Bheem and UPI. And again, something which has a dispersed ledger from all across the globe. So I'm just trying to say the acceptability is the key challenge, and while the acceptability happens, there cannot be a question in the integrity of the currency, which right now is being under question through multiple research groups which are there across the globe. And I feel the value will only keep shooting up as the acceptability of the same keeps going up, both from a end user side and a merchant or a vendor side.
Well, that point is very well made and well taken as well, Saket. But Satvik, coming to you and just coming back to the kind of price moves that we have seen, a lot of people that I speak to tell me on wish they had invested in Bitcoins with the kind of run-up that we have seen in last many years. So would you say that this still is a good time to invest now?
What I personally think is, it does not matter what exactly is the price of Bitcoin, because it is not like gold where you buy gold and you make ornaments out of it, etc. At the end, what matters is the trust you have in the technology itself. If we see, say, in year 2013, when the price was about, say, 5,000 rupees, people trusted it less, so the price was quite less. And now the more people are getting in, there are giants like Microsoft, Dell and Expedia accepting Bitcoins as a mode of payment for their, against their invoices. So given these things, I would say the utility of Bitcoin itself has continued growing. And today we are at a place where it's again pretty much at the all-time high, where every unit is costing 1 lakh rupees. But when it comes to investment, we ourselves do not promote that you should be investing in Bitcoin as such, especially because again it's very high volatile. There is again a lot of volatility in nature, so people should be aware of the risks that they will be taking. But I would really think that there is no bad time to get into Bitcoin because we all believe that this is one of the forms of technology and the mode of payment in the decades to come.
Well, yes, and we are all talking technology and cryptocurrencies here. Saket, your final word, and how do you think it's a good time to invest?
I'll simplify that.
Yeah.
There are only two ways you can move forward when you talk about investments into Bitcoin. Number one is the exponential rise that is going to happen in the value in the next half a decade, 1 decade. The other way is if there is a flaw identified within the actual algorithm of the cryptocurrency which is there, the entire value will be slashed to zero. So you don't have to worry about whether you will make a little money. Either you're going to make a lot of money or the entire investment is going to go to zero, and there's just no third way about it.
All right, so that's a chance that you will have to take, but you can't really keep away from Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, and digital India is something that you will that is something you will have to keep an eye on totally. Thank you guys for joining us on the show and making the discussion so much more wonderful. But with that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Commodity Champions. Thank you for watching.